wanna be's a celebrity. Paid for doing nothing, that's fine by me. And advertising dog food on TV.
A co-star naked for the magazines.
Adulation is all I seek. If I don't get it, I won't last a week. I'd OD on obscurity. I'd rather be a celebrity. I would murder, beg or steal. Lie or cheat for every meal. You don't need talent, just white teeth to live the life of a celebrity. Celebrity, it's a buzz for me. Celebrity, oh, the good Lord got big plans for me. Being famous is where it's at. Where I live is where I lay my hat. I got no talent, so it qualifies me
to strut my stuff as a celebrity.
Being famous is where it's at. Where I live is where I lay my hat.
I got no talent, so it qualifies me to strut my stuff as a celebrity.
Celebrity, it's a buzz for me. Celebrity, oh, the good Lord got designs for me. Being famous is where it's at. And where I live is where I lay my hat.
I got no talent, so it qualifies me to strut my stuff, strut my stuff, strut my stuff as a celebrity.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Are you all sat comfortably? Then I'll begin. I've got big plans. I plan to become a celebrity. But I don't want to be the kind of celebrity that's just famous for being famous. I want to be a celebrity for having written a best-selling work of fiction. And I also want to produce a reality TV show. Now, I plan to break this news to my wife, Jill. Ah, here she comes now. Jill, I have something I want you to do for me.
You have? Is it legal?
I want you to help me to write a best-selling work of fiction.
You want us both to write a book at the same time?
No. I'll write the book.
Well, what does that leave for me to do?
Well, I want you to lock me in a room.
Lock you in a room? Felix? Ladies and gentlemen, whatever Felix is about to suggest, don't try this at home, will you? And why would I lock you in a room, Felix?
I want you to lock me in a room and refuse to let me out until I've written 80,000 words. You see, I believe that winning my freedom will be the greatest incentive to me completing a book.
What about the alternative and easier route? Maybe write a book without being locked in a room.
Aha! Because I'm not stupid. I know my weaknesses. I'm too ill-disciplined and too easily distracted to sit patiently for weeks, days and months writing. Yet I've got the ability to write a sensational blockbuster. And if I was locked in a room, I would be focused to write. In fact, I'd be focused to write myself free. Not only that, though.
Not only that, though, what?
I want you to film me writing it.
Film you writing it?
Have you turned into a parrot?
If I'm a bird, I'm not a tit.
I want us to make a pilot for a TV reality show.
You do?
Look, I not only want to write a book, but I want to do a TV pilot off that book. And imagine this on television. 3 fledgling and frustrated writers go into 3 separate cells and they race against each other to be the first to complete 80,000 words. And while they're doing that, they're fighting against writer's block. Now imagine this too. What will happen then? We'll allow them visitors. And to boost ratings, what we'll do is get special guest celebrities.
And they could be fed grubs, worms, or worse, if they produce bad work.
Yes!
And they could be beaten or whipped if they fall behind schedule.
Thank God.
And if they break down screaming with writer's block, they could be filmed being rushed in an ambulance to intensive care. Then, as in a soak, their lives could be hanging on by a thread on life support machines.
You always mock my creativity.
I know just the person to produce it, Belinda. And if you're to be in a reality TV show, you'll need to wear something suitably silly. I have something in mind already. So, I agreed to become Felix's jailer. I bought him a costume and a prop, and I asked my friend Belinda Gold, who runs her own PR company and produces DVDs, if she would film Felix. She seemed enthusiastic. To further his argument for temporary incarceration, Felix said that Oscar Wilde, John Bunyan, the Marquis de Sade, and other such distinguished authors had all written great works whilst in jail. Most, if not all of them, he claimed, said that without prison bars, they couldn't have produced works which were later acclaimed as great. But where was I to lock him away, and how? I mean, he wouldn't be able to come to bed every night, would he? Oh no, I'd have the king size all to myself. No more of his sharp toenails digging into me. And would I patiently wait on him, hand and foot, serving him food and drink? Or would I give him a large bag of oats and a barrel of water and tell him to help himself? This could be rather like keeping a horse. I've always wanted a horse. Finally, and most pertinently, I reminded him, Felix, do you know how long it takes to pen an ordinary novel, let alone a bestseller? He had the gall to say that I was his main distraction from writing, along with TV, the internet, music, and football. He said that I was always asking him to do chores around the house. I said to him, Felix, I would have slit my throat had I thought that I was restricting your genius by asking you to bin the rubbish. And that's all you do around the house, isn't it? He replied by saying, under no circumstances must you set me free until I have written 80,000 words. If the loo won't flush, I cannot be released to fix it. And if the cat gets stuck in the cat flap, it stays there. I cannot be released to free kitty. And he instructed me, under no circumstances will I chauffeur you to do the weekly shopping. So, what if the house catches fire and you're chained to your desk? That calls for common sense, he said. On balance, I'd let you burn. You'd set me free or there'd be hell to pay. Who puts the rubbish out on Tuesdays? You do, he told me.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's my story, and that's how my project got started. And this, of course, is the ridiculous outfit that I had to wear for the filming. But it was all worth it, because you see what I've got here, don't you? Write Yourself Free by Felix Wright. And it's all fictional, despite what you might hear the women saying today. Now, you can be sure that Jill did in fact lock me in a room, and Belinda Gold did do the filming. Now, the thing is, before I entered this captivity, I insisted upon having as much of an alcohol binge as I wanted down there. And that's what I did, because I believe that great writers like Ernest Hemingway are great writers simply because they're great drinkers. And also, I believe that alcohol not only tickles the taste buds, but it also extends the brain's imagination. You know something? I've been married a great many years, and I'm beginning to think that men and women just don't understand each other. Look at me and my wife. After all these years, we're now reduced to fighting in public. A lot of that this time. Marriage is an uneasy alliance. And these days, more and more men and women, especially in later life, are choosing to find happiness living alone rather than further compromise their independence on the roulette wheel of another serious relationship or marriage. The truth seems to be that men and women do come from different planets. Women from Venus and men from Mars, and women talk slimming while men talk cars. Her wardrobe is bulging with clothes she'll never wear. Is she overcompensating for something that is missing? Will someone tell me what's going on? Someone tell me what's going wrong? Someone tell me why we are all so alien. Whoa, whoa. It's the battle of the sexes and we are alien. Whoa, whoa. Venus and Mars. Women are from Venus and men, they're from Mars. Marriage forever, but we no longer speak. Criticize my best friend. I might as well talk in Greek. You're so selfish, while I'm so perfect. And women want cuddles, while men want sex. Will someone tell me what's going on? Someone tell me what's going wrong? Someone tell me why we are all so alien. Whoa, whoa. It's the battle of the sexes and we are alien. Whoa, whoa. Venus and Mars. Women are from Venus and men, they're from Mars. Venus and Mars. Women are good at crochet, while men are good at wiring. While men are busy sweating, women are perspiring. Will someone tell me what's going on? Someone tell me what's going wrong? Someone tell me why we are all so alien. Whoa, whoa. It's the battle of the sexes and we are alien. Whoa, whoa. Venus and Mars. Women are from Venus and men are from Mars. And it seems that, in the words of the bard, William Shakespeare, never the twain will meet. Venus and Mars. Venus and Mars.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You have heard Felix's version of events. Now, my dear friend Belinda Gold and I will tell you ours. The book is not just titled Write Yourself Free. The full title is Write Yourself Free, Female Fact or Male Fiction. Tonight, you decide. As Felix requested, he went into temporary captivity. To amuse myself, I bought him the convict outfit you see him wearing tonight. I also bought him off the internet a ball and chain from America. which incidentally got held up in customs. It cost me more money to release it from customs than it did to buy the ball and chain itself. It was I who suggested that not only should we produce a book for this project, but that we should also produce a reality TV show.
No, it wasn't.
Throughout our long and painful marriage, Felix was always interrupting me. I learned to give way gracefully. I became a doormat. Yes, Felix? What was it you had to tell us?
The TV reality show was my idea. Ladies and gentlemen, Jill used to be my perfect and respectful wife until she met Belinda Gold. More about that woman later. Oh, here she comes now, the other one. Thelma to Jill's Louise. Here comes trouble.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jill's friend, Belinda Gold, and as a freelance media consultant, I immediately saw the commercial possibilities of this project, and as a favour to Jill, agreed to film a TV reality show pilot.
This woman can talk the hind legs off a donkey. She's the one responsible for the breakdown of my marriage.
Oh, do shut up, Felix. We agreed to be civilised tonight.
I am fortunate enough to own a rather large house with a studio cellar, and I suggested that Felix be stationed and filmed down there while in voluntary captivity. My cameras and recording equipment are stored there and ready to go, so Felix could be out of sight, and if he so desired, out of mind.
So, Felix in his convict outfit, with his ball and chain, was further attached by his other ankle to the cellar wall, using a length of chain link, which gave him ample room to function, but under no circumstances allowed him to escape, until he had penned what he swore would be a masterpiece of a novel. We provided him with toilet facilities, a screen, and a duvet to sleep on the floor, and as he requested, there would be no distractions.
When I first became involved in this project, Felix assured me that he had a precious gift to write a very special book. Jill also supported him in this notion, based on the fact that Felix used to make a living writing for provincial newspapers. Felix also assured me that the reason he hadn't yet written a successful book was because he hadn't been able to tie himself down for long enough.
So, at his request, we did tie him down. Felix went into captivity in Belinda's studio cellar, and it was soon after this that we hit a snag.
A highly relevant, pertinent, and let's say a major snag.
It was 10 days or so after Felix had moved into Belinda's studio cellar that it became clear, well, that he was drinking too much alcohol. And his work was, well, to put it simply, substandard. What he was producing was underwhelming to both of us. I was true to my word and gave as much alcohol as he requested, but it soon became clear that he was spending as much time drinking and sobering up as he was writing.
I made several attempts at a novel, all of which were extremely good, but the women disagreed. And they said, "Oh, Felix, you could do better than that." And then they deleted my work. I began to feel that the women wanted me to fail. I began to feel trapped and misunderstood.
Oh, dear me, Felix, that's absolute codswallop. Of course we wanted you to succeed. The truth is we had to rescue the project by adapting it.
My intention was to produce an exciting and compulsive book, and that I have done.
Oh, no, you didn't, Felix. Felix's writing was mind-numbingly dull. I was incredibly disappointed. His swagger had convinced me that he could produce a spellbinding work of fiction. Let me now voice what Jill is perhaps still a little timid to say. After all, she was married to him for 20 years, and for most of those knew her place. To put it bluntly, Felix was a crap writer. Writing for a newspaper does not necessarily a novelist make.
So, there was Felix detained in Belinda's studio cellar, desperate to be famous, and writing absolute rubbish.
So there we were, with my cameras rolling and facing the harsh truth that we were wasting our time. Felix would not, could not, ever produce anything worthy of publication if we locked him for a lifetime in the cellar.
Fortunately, Belinda saved the day. She had a brainwave to rescue the project, and so here we are with a completed book titled Write Yourself Free, Female Fact on Male Fiction. And you can buy it on Amazon or download it there after the show.
From this point onwards, the women will make claims which are fantastical. Not only will they try and represent my fiction as fact, but there will be lies. So please, please remember that.
We are perfectly happy, ladies and gentlemen, to let you, the audience, decide who done it. Who wrote this book? Was it F or J, right? Felix or Jill?
Continuing the story, Belinda said that as Felix was getting more frustrated and drunk, that we should rescue the project by changing the format to allow Belinda and I to write and complete it successfully.
Otherwise, we were there for an eternity, waiting for Felix to make even a promising start. I think we should get back to the serious part of our story, the inspiration behind our book. I think it's time for you to leave the stage, Felix. As we agreed, you always have the option of coming back and facing the audience later, if you dare.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remember what I've told you. I've told you my side of the story. The book is fiction. Please remember that. I'll be back, I'll return.
Before we started filming, Jill confessed to me a rather shocking fact about Felix, a never-before-revealed dark secret. She told me of something Felix had done early in their marriage and how greatly it had impacted upon her. I decided that as Felix was desperate to continue writing in his pathetic attempt to become famous, he should be obliged instead to write autobiographically. With him, in effect, trapped in the cellar, conveniently for us, but at his own request, he should write his confession, show remorse for his past deeds. Instead of producing a demonstration pilot of his reality show, Write Yourself Free, my newly inspired TV reality show will be called Dark Secrets.
It is true. I was deeply affected with how Felix treated me in our early years of marriage. So, when Belinda suggested that we change direction with the project, well, I was feeling much braver. I thought, well, the cat's out of the bag now, why the hell not?
On my forthcoming TV reality show, Dark Secrets, those riddled with guilt about a crime or evil deed they had done could appear on my show and confess or write about it. Everybody wants to be on television these days. TV draws like a magnet. I knew that more than enough of them could be encouraged to unburden their evil doings on my show. For instance, if they secretly buried a body under the patio, or cheated, conned, or destroyed someone else's life. What the public wants from its celebrities and politicians these days is remorse. Without public remorse, there is no forgiveness. I knew I was onto a surefire winner. It was a far superior format to Felix's Write Yourself Free.
The trouble with Felix is he just doesn't know when to quit. Belinda and I admit that we hijacked his initial idea, but it was our idea to produce a book and a film for this project. To reward Felix for his giving us a platform for our creativity, we agreed that he should be famous as he's so great.
And he will be.
We told Felix to back off. If he was to contest us for authorship of the novel, we'd tell the world that it was fact, not fiction, the truth, the whole truth. And as we suspected it, those reading it, especially women, would see that it could have only been penned by a female. Those reading it, believing this to be true, would see that Felix was not the hero that he so greatly desired, but they would see him as a villain.
You see, his voluntary captivity had left him with no choice but to confess. He was given an ultimatum whilst in the cellar. Write the truth, or never see natural daylight again. If he hadn't confessed, he'd still be there now. We were adamant, I more so than Jill, that the truth of their sham of a marriage should be exposed to serve as a warning for others.
Belinda made this happen for me, and I am grateful.
Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a filmmaker, writer, producer, director. A tiresome male business competitor once described me as Machiavellian of making. He was livid because I'd won a business deal at his expense. He would have wreaked physical revenge on me there and then had I not managed to calm him down. What had upset him was that I'd won a business contract he badly wanted, and I was only a woman, as he told it. Like most men who lose out in direct competition to women, this had led to his fragile male ego imploding. In anger, he condemned my ruthlessness, which, had I been a man, he would have admired. He even went so far as to describe me as a downright disgrace to womanhood. I laughed. Inside, I was pleased. He was a complete misogynist and beyond repair sexist. I should know, I've met enough of them in my time. Society has come a long way since Aristotle said, "But the courage of man lies in commanding, and a woman was in obeying." Mind you, the same Greek sage also said that because women have fewer teeth than men, the female is an incomplete version of the male.
I know it's that I lived in fear of Felix for too long during our marriage years. It is only relatively recently that I've finally broken his spell and finally allowed myself to accept that I had let myself become a victim. Felix's hand over me in later years, it was more subtle than his past bullying, which had involved physical violence. In our early years of marriage, when his fists went flying to keep me firmly in my place, often to subdue my opinions, his razor-sharp and acid tongue, fueled by alcohol, was used with equal effect with continuous put-downs. Felix was good at being bad, very good. Hindsight tells me that my marriage was a miserable habit, which I enforced by staying put. Or am I just blaming myself here? I should have left, but I lacked the necessary guts. I wasn't brave enough. I mean, one argument for staying in my marriage was, aren't all marriages the same or not similar to my own? Didn't all women tolerate violence in men? Didn't all men have trigger tantrums and want their own way? Didn't all women placate and keep the often fragile peace between a man and a woman? This is how it was then, and it may even be true of today. Anyway, there was a baby, my daughter to consider, so I stayed when I should have left. Though you may read these words and think that I wasted too much time before stating them, well, that doesn't matter at the moment. Believe me, the feeling of release and relief that I have experienced, having told the truth, is so beautifully intense. And I am just so grateful to be here and alive at this moment. I feel as though I'm breathing air for the first time. Putting it simply, better done late than never. My freedom is here, and I am pragmatic and thinking that now was the right time to do it. If you are a woman hearing these words and you have been controlled or bullied by a man, then share my exhilaration and without one moment's hesitation, release yourself from your oppressor, and you will feel as I do, free at last. I promise you, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
It was at a business meeting that Felix Wright asked me to film a TV reality show pilot of his show, Write Yourself Free. He said not only would it make groundbreaking original television, but it would also give him the opportunity to write a best-selling novel. It would chart the progress and survival of an author who writes in captivity with release as incentive for completion. But before I was introduced to Felix Wright, I met his wife Jill, and she confided in me that early in their marriage, Felix had raped her. I was to discover how profoundly this had affected her. I was amazed, touched, flattered, humbled, surprised, all in equal measure, that she felt able to reveal her deeply affecting emotional turmoil to me, of all people. She'd kept the painful secret of her rape from the time it had happened until the present. She was alone and isolated with this terrible secret until she met me. I was the first to hear of it, and the first, therefore, to try and help her, to encourage her, to make sense of what had happened, and the one to witness her outpouring of grief as she finally found the courage to explain what had happened to her. I was amazed at how many doors she had to break down just to reach me. I was in awe of her.
Hindsight tells me that my past attitude stank of resignation and weakness. I kept secret his bullying and the rape. I had no friends to confide in. Friends were sacrificed early in our marriage years. Felix wanted all of me, and there was something about this that I quite liked. He didn't want to share me with anyone. I should, of course, have seen this as a warning sign as to the extent of his controlling nature. But I will say this. My time spent with Felix in later years did improve, but I couldn't stop myself harking back to what I could or should have done to prevent his cruelty towards me. I only revealed this to Belinda recently. It wasn't until the words spilled out and the tears flowed that I finally realised how desperately I needed to unload my pain. I had exorcised a demon.
I am not a social animal, neither with men nor women. I regard all human beings, even the best of them, as potential snakes. And so, I remained friendless, by choice. It made me ask myself why I felt this way. But inside I knew. And well, Jill finally disclosed her secret, and by doing so revealed her pent-up distress. It gave me the somewhat rare opportunity to relax in another person's company. Here was a woman desiring closeness and needing understanding. And because she was lost and self-obsessing, it was clear her intentions were not to dupe or harm me, which is my greatest fear when I'm with someone. So for the first time in far too long, I allowed my own guard to drop. Here was a genuine woman, needing understanding and fixing, and who obviously saw me as someone who could assist. She also saw me as someone to look up to. I talked the talk and walked the walk, as far as she was concerned. This is the image I displayed to the world. This is how the world saw me. I present myself as a strong, competent, independent woman, able to deal at ease with life's constant pressures and demands. How well I built my protective shell. How little she and others really knew me. The truth was well hidden. I was hiding my own secret from the world.
One excuse for staying in my marriage is it was better living with the devil I knew. Knowing that what other women had to deal with was far worse. In my early days spent with Felix, the newspapers proliferated with stories of wounded, dead, dying women, the victims of brutal, one-sided domestic assaults. Hindsight is easy, but it is only recently that I have found the courage and the voice to explain what happened to me. Thanks to my friend Belinda's encouragement, I am free at last to tell my story.
A long time ago, Jill was condemned to a dark and lonely place as a result of her husband's rape attack and controlling behaviour. To this day, she told me, he has no idea of the damage he caused her. It's all right for him. He's moved on, exorcised his guilt. And she has excused him because he's mellowed and is no longer the cruel, controlling callous man he once was. Moreover, with the passage of years, she too had hoped to change and to move on with her life, to rid herself of the flashbacks and tortured feelings that sometimes came upon her uninvited and threatened to overwhelm her. She described the onset of these attacks as a kind of claustrophobia that left her feeling inert. She did her utmost to bury and forget the awful, unstated truths between secrets between herself and Felix, and to move on with her life. Now, by talking to me and emerging into the light, she was facing fresh trauma, that of discovering she'd been trapped all these years. She was grieving, still haunted by the past. I saw the fear in her eyes as her story unfolded, and those grim past events were replayed in her head. This rape was relived and repeated interminably in her mind until, she explained to me, she still felt raw. She still felt the same level of intensity and pain with each repetition. Now she realised it was vital to speak the truth, to preserve her own sanity. The dam had burst. Befriending Jill placed me on new ground too. Over the months I spent with her, I found I was able to wholly trust someone else completely, but for the first time since my teenage years. Unusually and quite by chance, I seem to have made a friend. And now I discover that friends do change each other's lives.
My opportunity came to break free of Felix when he told me how he was to write his book. And deadly serious, Felix mused. Jill, the only way I can think to write a book is to be in captivity. I lack the discipline to write every day without a deadline. Listen, if I fear that I've worked in newspapers for so long, I can only turn out short stories. And I fear that I'll get concentration deficit when I'm past 400 words. Listen, if I'm locked in a room with no means of escape and no distractions, I will write for longer periods and I believe produce better work. It is time to seize the day. I can't and won't leave it a moment longer. And would you like a window view from your prison room so that you can draw inspiration from the stars and clouds? I said. Take me seriously, Jill, he said. And I did, for it was to follow that his captivity would lead to my freedom.
The trauma of being raped and her husband's controlling of behaviour was constantly fixed in Jill's mind. Memories of it gnawed away at her until she still felt raw. She feared it might happen again. She feared another attack would annihilate her completely, taking away any reason she had for living. She couldn't bear the thought of having to handle twice as much trauma she'd already had to cope with. Yet, fearing her husband's violent reaction if she spoke about the rape, she hadn't dared tell him how she still felt. And there was Felix, still living with her, completely oblivious, a constant day-to-day reminder. His controlling behaviour shaped her future too. And though this man was more at peace with himself, the damage was done. An unfair and uneven peace had been brokered between them a long time ago, maintained by the suppression of their dark and shared secrets. A secret kept by Jill for nearly 2 decades. Did Jill keep quiet to protect her husband? Or to preserve her marriage without realising the damage it was doing to her? I'm staggered that anyone could make such a sacrifice. Perhaps only a woman could.
So, while Felix was in his volunteered prison cellar, I was escaping my own prison and coming to my senses, thanks to my friend Belinda.
I admired Jill's remarkable resilience and patience as she managed to control this inside trauma internally for so long. I spent countless hours with her, listening and comforting her as she untied the invisible knot that jailed her to a dark and lonely place. Her release from what I considered to be her personal jail was gradual. We talked in fits and starts, and she cried rivers of uncounted tears, long overdue and much suppressed. I was greatly angered, not only by the rape itself, but for the silent agony she'd endured inside for so long. How much of her precious life was wasted? I admit I was not so much upset with Jill as I was angry at Felix Wright. I believe that no rapist should go unpunished. I wanted to extract revenge on Felix on behalf of Jill. I wanted to parade outside his house with a placard proclaiming Felix Wright raped his wife and got away with it. I saw extracting revenge as a solution, enabling her to better move on with her life. I didn't want him to win, or to think he'd got away with it. Too many men have escaped justice in the past, and many still do, believing with strutting arrogance that they are untouchable. that, perhaps in common with the majority of women, Jill was adamant that she had not sought nor would seek revenge on him. This out of misguided, misplaced loyalty to him, I guess. I tried to get her to change her mind, but she wouldn't, not even to the lesser extent of scissoring his trousers or wiping clean his precious computer.
Encouraged by Belinda, I confronted Felix 20 years too late. You shouldn't be allowed to get away with it, I said. TV personalities are going to prison now for rapes they committed in the 1970s. I'm not saying I'd see you go to prison. I just want a resolution on my terms, that's all. And I'm not going to let this go away now it's out in the open. Felix said that now, in the 21st century, there was a witch hunt against blokes. And they were choosing to bring down the famous first as examples. He said that if a woman like I chose to complain about an ordinary bloke like him, where would it all end? The newspapers and the courts and the police would be overstretched with women wanting justice. I replied, but shouldn't anyone, man or woman, expect justice? I wondered how many men thought that they had got away with abusing women because of the passage of time. How easily would they sleep in their beds these days?
Did I come to this project with an agenda to right a wrong against Jill? No, I did not. What happened along the way is fortuitous, perhaps unfortunate, Felix right, but has enabled me to raise a subject that is taboo: rape within marriage. In 1991, English law drew a line in the sand and abolished rape exemption in marriage. Technically, this means that any man who raped his wife in marriage before that date gets away with it and cannot be found guilty of that crime. But it begs the question, what of the tens of thousands of women who were raped in marriage before that date? How are they coming to terms with their trauma today? How many men like Felix Wright got away with it? Did you know it is estimated that a staggering 85,000 women are raped in England and Wales each year, and a further 400,000 suffer some form of sexual assault. 1 in 5 women from the age of 16 has some form of sexual attack, and that is only the tip of the iceberg. These are the reported cases. Most cases go unreported because of the fear and trauma of the female victim.
In a new enlightened age, men guilty of past sex crimes are now being imprisoned. Once predatory men, believing themselves to be untouchable, reckoning there would be no future accountability for their sex crimes, are now shaking in their boots. With irony, women are escaping the locked prisons of their minds and coming to their senses. Thanks.
Nearly a third of women who suffer the most serious form of sexual offences are too ashamed to ever speak about it. Only about 15% of women and girls ever report their rape to the police. Rape within marriage continues to be legal in some countries in the world, or at least widely tolerated. Traditional views on marriage, which dictate that a woman must be sexually submissive to her husband, continue to be common practice in many parts of the world.
By opening up to Belinda about the rape and Felix's behaviour towards me. Some heavy, rusted, bolted doors, locked deep inside of me, creaked ever so slowly open. Call me crazy, but I feel as though fresh shafts of light are shooting into my insides. I now wish with all my soul that I had been brave enough to speak out earlier. The initial relief after speaking out roared in like a gushing tidal wave that swept through my entire being and hasn't retreated since. It's like nothing I have ever felt before or will ever feel again, and I'm just so grateful to be here and alive at this moment. In the book, I got a confession from Felix, and that felt good. In the book, you can also read about his affairs with other women. I knew nothing of these. Needless to say, I am done with him. The truth is going to be out there. I am now going to share my story with all other women in the hope to encourage those women who feel subjugated in any way to find the courage to step out of the darkness.
Machiavelli said that good ends justify bad things. I suspect only a minority of women would join the vast number of men who feel comfortable with this philosophy. It's men, more than women, who are able to commit crime without feeling guilt and who feel that the end justifies the means. It's men, more than women, who resort to violence if it gets results. And it's men, and more of them than you would ever realise, will resort to force and violence to subdue any intellect that threatens to put their own in the shade. If men want sex with women, the end will always justify the means if they think they can get away with it.
So, while Felix was in his locked room trying to struggle to write, we propped him up.
We wrote the book. Jill and I wrote the book. And when you eventually read it, it'll be obvious to you that a man could never have written it. It will also be obvious that it's plain fact, not fiction. Felix gave us his life story in almost childlike language. His writing and grammar were so poor, most of it had to be rewritten. Most of his contribution was either superfluous or unusable. While he basked in an alcoholic haze, Jill and I took the opportunity to produce the book of which we are now proud.
Not only do we have a book for this project, we also have some fantastic, funny photos. We have some demonstration film for any big shot in the entertainment industry to have a look at. We also have a rather unique idea for a reality TV show called Dark Secrets. Felix spent the majority of his time binge drinking and so became a periphery figure in the writing of the book. But give him his due, because he is a stubborn so-and-so and also the villain of the plot. I have written in the book about the rape.
And I have written of mine. I was only a teenager when I was raped. Jill's honesty and strength have inspired me. I feel ashamed that I have spent years from running away and facing my past. I'm frightened that my cowardice may have denied me the opportunity to face my life and future with any kind of honesty. I never thought of myself as a coward before now, And I asked myself, have I been fooling myself all these years? Meeting Jill has been a turning point in my life, and though I hate to give Felix any kind of credit here now, maybe now is the time to write myself free. To think that I had the nerve to preach to her about what steps she should take to take control of her life and move on with her life when, if I'm honest, I haven't had the courage to do the same. I think I was frightened that if I spoke openly about my own rape, it would take me right back to square one, to that awful place where I was the hopeless, helpless victim. By talking about it, I thought I would lose all control. I've moved on in so many ways since the rape, but I'm worried that my life is built on sand. By choosing not to talk about it, you are choosing to punish yourself. While it remains your secret alone, it will go on harming you far more than anyone who hears the truth could ever harm you. The truth will set you free. Yes, I was raped too. Afterwards, you try to scrub yourself clean. But you learn later that the memories can never be washed away. Years later, the events were played still again and again in your head until you start punishing yourself for not putting up more of a fight. Is there anything I could have done to stop it? Did I encourage him? At the time, I only had one thought in my mind, and that was to get through it, to survive. There are some wounds that time alone will not heal. The worst scars are in the mind. I wasn't raped in a marriage. My boyfriend's father raped me when I was a teenager. I'd never been comfortable with the way he looked at me. I'd always tried to avoid being alone with him. I went round to my boyfriend's house, but he wasn't there. His father gave me a glass of wine to drink while I waited. He came over to where I was sitting and leaned over me and tried to kiss me. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Don't play games with me, Missy. It's time you had a real man. It's what you want, isn't it? I know your sort." Then he grabbed my arms and pulled me up and shook me like a doll. My glass fell. Wine spilling and staining the carpet. He pulled me to me, pressing his body against mine. I could feel his breath on my cheek. He didn't say anything, he just flung me on the sofa. And then, with one hand holding me down, he was taking his trousers off with the other. I tried to scream, but he clamped his hand over my mouth. Then he was on top of me. I couldn't breathe. I could smell him. I turned my face away so I wouldn't have to look at him, but he jerked it back. I closed my eyes. And then himself inside me. I froze. Afterwards, when he'd finished, when it was over, I couldn't hear anything. I thought, maybe he's dead. Maybe he's had a heart attack and died. And then I heard him wheezing. He took his hand off my mouth. I didn't say anything, I just lay there. And then he got up as if nothing remarkable had happened and started getting dressed. Get up, he said. Sort yourself out. And don't you say a word about this. It'll be the worst for you. Do you understand? Keep your mouth shut. Understand? I won't say anything. I promise. I walked to the door, keeping my eyes on him all the time. I never did tell. I buried this secret deep inside me, and this is the first time I've ever spoken about it. I built myself up good and strong, but I always return to the rape inside my head. It's always there, lingering in the centre of my being. I cry inside too for all the years I wasted burying the truth. I've never told anyone this before, never told anyone how I felt until now. I kept going over and over and over it again in my head, blaming myself. Was my skirt too short, my blouse too tight, my makeup too... It's a tickler. It's that every woman who's been assaulted goes through it. We blame ourselves because our attackers never own up and take responsibility. At first, I knew it wasn't my fault. But after a while, you start to believe his version of events. Someone has to take the blame, so it might as well be you. By not speaking about it, I became a victim, and a victim I have remained. But I take pride that if you met me, you'd see no weakness, no chink on display, no heart or soul to be exposed to be hurt anymore either. I don't think I've ever had what anyone would call a normal relationship with a man since. I hate men. When I wrote those words, there were tears rolling down my cheeks. Maybe it's true. Maybe you can write yourself free. I've been watching the cases of these celebrities, being brought down before the court, these old sexual abuse cases. But what of these so-called normal men, men like Felix Wright and my boyfriend's father? What about them? I've been asking myself, is it too late to right a wrong? If I reported my rape to the police? He'll be an old man now, but I want him to feel, to understand the shame and humiliation he put me through. Any punishment wouldn't make up for the hurt he did for me. Once an abuser, a rapist, gets away with it, they feel free to do it again and again. I should have stopped that bastard in his tracks. Did he hurt other girls because I didn't report him? Is it my fault? When I met Jill, and she told me the story, I could relate to it, and it seems help her. And she has helped me.
The book is a fresh start for both of us, a rebirth.
And in it, Felix has mitigated his lousy behaviour. He's not a bad man, he says, and he's no longer as callous and controlling as he once was. But as ever, it's for you, the reader, to decide.
We decided that the book should have F or J Wright as the author, Felix or Jill Wright. Felix and I agreed that we should let the audience decide for themselves. So you go to Amazon, buy the book, download it there, and then go to the website, leave your comments, and then decide, of course, who done it.
I'm perfectly happy for Jill to have the rights to the book. You see, I have my TV reality show, Dark Secrets, featuring the film confession of Felix Wright. I shall sell this, and I have no doubt it will be a future success on television.
There is a serious issue confronted in the telling of this story. Often in long marriages, you will find uncomfortable history. Ours is no different, as you will discover to many others. Once you have read what is on offer, you are free to believe what you will.
You see, when Felix was in the cellar, he was persuaded to write a letter of confession. Do you have it, Jill?
Here it is, and it's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
We told him if he wrote it, we wouldn't use it. We just wanted him to acknowledge his guilt in the letter as well as in the book, and then we'd let him go.
We lied.
Can you hear what I hear?
I think I can.
You put that on the table.
Yes.
I think that just about wraps everything up, doesn't it?
Yep.
Are you ready to begin our trip of a lifetime?
I think our journey has already started.
Open the window and jump.